Alright, hello everyone. Last little discussion that I'm going to do before the patch comes out tomorrow. And today I want to briefly talk about the Reefslider buff, because it's been getting some attention. Here is a clip of it on Twitter, where you can see they basically just panicked the special, because there's a bomb thrown at their feet. So they get jumped by the enemy player, like this guy ambushes the aerospray user. You know, they didn't do it perfectly, they're a little far, but they got the jump on the aerospray user, but oh, they press slider, their invincibility activates in 25 frames now, which is the fastest in the game, and they blow them up. And Bipedal Squid, who some of you guys might be familiar with, said, great, now it's just a panic button instead of an actual special. Great. And there was a lot of people in their replies talking about, like, that's the point of the special, it always was, blah, 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 which I don't think either of those things are correct, but why don't we talk about it for a little bit? So, I already did a whole video on Slider Splashdown, so I'm gonna kind of skip to talking about the balance history of this. So Slider starts out, what's important to note is that this special is shit. It doesn't do anything, it dies, it's horrible. We have to buff it and make it better. Let's see how they buffed it. First, they increased the damage so that you couldn't parry it. Cool, but on its own doesn't do enough. Then we gave it invincibility. We gave it 28 frames of invincibility at the very end of the special. And I criticized this. I felt like that this is a clumsy way to fix it. It does, however, adjust the actual problem. The problem with the special is you die after you pop it. A lot of people have said that Slider was like always a panic button, or that Slider was always going to be a panic button, or that's how it was built. But the whole idea of Slider, the whole idea of making a splashdown horizontal, is hey, you can pop it far away and not die, so you don't have to panic button it. I want us to remember this, okay? The whole point of it being horizontal is so that it doesn't have this panic button 50-50 splashdown did. That's the whole point. Now, I think invincibility is a clunky way of going about it because there's not really the clearest indicator of when the invincibility, like, actually ends. It doesn't fix the actual problem. You're still gonna die more often than not, even if it's not as bad. And it just kind of feels clumsy and random a bit. It's just not a very cool feeling way of going about it. Like, look at this. It's a little awkward looking. But you know what? At least this adjusted the problem. It made it harder for you to die in the Reefslider. That's what matters, right? So at least it did its job. Fast forward. We have the one buff I actually like with this special. Spoiler warning for the rest of the video, I guess. This is the only buff I actually like. And I'm going to talk about it later, why I really like this buff. Then we made it paint more. We gave it a bigger radius too, which is nice. But this also increases the paint. Now the bigger radius is fine. It's a little dumb, but it's fine. But we all know what the bigger paint radius meant, right? We all get what happens when we buff a paint radius to an absurd degree. It becomes zones cheese. That's now what we have. We have zones cheese in the game. And that's what Slider does now. It sliders into zones, it blows up and paints it. Now, zones cheese is okay. It's not bad. It's a utility thing. It does make it better. But it makes it better in a bad way. If a special is good because it can slider into the zone and stall the timer, that's kind of dumb. It's not fun, it's not interesting, it's not interactive, and again, it doesn't fix the special's problems. Now, we buffed the invincibility on startup to start sooner. Which, on the one hand, I'm okay with a little bit. I think if this was a smaller amount, I would even like it. Because Slider does have a lot of startup. And, unlike a lot of other invincibility specials, you can't move while you start up. For example, if I can find the recently buffed 96 Gal Deco. 96 Gal, or not 96 Gal, Kraken has the longest startup in the game. It has 61 frames. There's some netcode BS that makes it actually half that time sometimes, unless if it's like a bomb and such, but I'm not getting into that. But the main thing is 61 frames isn't that bad, because you see how I'm moving a bit while it activated. Like, I popped it over here, and I ended up over here. You know, Booyah Bomb, you start rising into the air a little bit, you know. Even Splashdown, you move up a bit, as predictable as it is. With Slider, you can't even pop it in the air or it won't start. You're standing still in place. But now it has the smallest amount of iframes to start up in the game, and now, as the tweet talked about, it is actually a panic button. Like, I think legitimately one of the better uses in Slider, if you're like a Tetra, is to roll in and then mash the right stick and pray you don't die so you can like deal extra damage or something. Like, that might low-key be something we see it doing. The problem is that the whole reason we made Slider horizontal is so the startup would be safe and not have to be a panic button. And now we're back to being a panic button. We're back to making it a panic button. What was the whole point? The whole point of making Splashdown horizontal was to make it safer. Now we're like, well, fuck that. It's gonna be better to use it on startup anyway, because at least when you pop it on startup, you might catch someone off guard and kill them, which is much easier to do than if you use it far away from someone, so just panic it. Or if you don't want to panic it, you can cheese zone. Or if you don't want to do either of those, guess what? You have to have your team highly coordinated to play off of the explosion and kill the enemy team and play off the damage before you die. It's completely team dependent to do anything, and if you use it without your team, it feels shit in that attribute. Which should sound familiar, because that's what Splatoon 2 specials are. That's the problem. Reefslider in its original state was a Splatoon 2 type special. That's why I like 70 damage, by the way. The reason I like 70 damage on this special is you're making it so it's more self-sufficient. Now, if you're, like, I don't know, a Dapple Dooley, and you hit someone with the explosion, you can get a kill off your own damage in one hit. That buff made the special more self-sufficient. It made it so that Reefslider weapons had better synergy with the special and could do things after. Like, Arrow could throw Fizzy, Auto Bomb outside hit, Undercover Shot's more likely to kill because that thing rarely actually does 40 damage. Etc., etc., you know? That was a positive thing. Yeah, outside of blaster hits are more reliable. Illusion Akira, thanks so much for the gifted sub. You know, that kind of thing I think was a good change. But the problem is what Slider needs is to be self-sufficient like that more. You need to be able to Slider by yourself, explode, and not be instantly screwed. That's what Slider needs. Then it's a Splatoon 3 type special. Then it won't feel shit. Then we don't need to make it a panic button that cheeses zone. This isn't to say the startup buff didn't do anything. Again, balance-wise, yeah, the special is better. It's still shit, but it's, like, better. You could even make an argument it's not the worst special in the game now. You could say it's Stamp or Wave, maybe. Like, you can actually make that argument now, and I could see it. But the problem is, like, how we buff something matters, too. When we buff Stingray, by giving it giant outside beams, that made the special better, but kind of created an eternity of problems that persisted to the end of the game's life. Luckily, Zone's cheese is a much more small problem, thank God, but, like, it might be there forever. We're starting to realize the Reefslider is poorly designed now. No, that's the thing. Reefslider was not poorly designed. It's being poorly balanced. That's what my point is. That's why I don't like this buff. That's why I think this tweet is accurate. Because the design created a way where it doesn't have to be a panic button, and it can be self-sufficient because you move horizontally. But the balancing is cheese the zone, use it as a panic button, actually, we lied, and have jank and lag, but at least this helps with the problem. Like, no, we can't let you move afterward, but you can be invincible, so it's a little bit harder to punish. At the cost of being worse to fight. And we have given it one actual buff that matters. This buff is the only smart buff we have given the special. That's it. That's the only one we've done that actually addresses the special in the right way. That's the problem. And, like, realistically, until the end lag is adjusted, I just don't care, really. This is a special that, like, might function a bit better. I'm glad it's at least, like, stronger, don't get me wrong. I'm glad it doesn't feel as garbage as it did before. But yeah, how we buff a special matters just as much, if not more. And you know what? Another example of this, while I'm here, is this. Recently, VJet has been dropped from 200 to 180p, we have made VJet more of a special spammer because we took away Burst Bomb. So we're like, damn, we have Burst Bomb, we can't effectively use the main weapon and fight with it as much, so instead, we're going to make it so that this weapon can get more Vax. And it just spams more special. I think this is more understood as a poor way of buffing it, right? Like, I think this is understood that, like, even though this is making the weapon better, it's a bad way of doing it. Slider is the same type of problem. It is being made better in the wrong way. VJet being 200p needed to happen. If anything, VJet should be 210p. But because we took away Burst Bomb from Jet Squelcher, and we don't want to buff Jet as a main weapon to be, like, better at fighting and more self-sufficient, we just made VJet feel weaker, and we're trying to artificially put it back in a way that makes it worse to fight. That's it. And Slider's the same thing. So yeah, that's the problem. And I don't know if Slider will ever be fixed. Because I'm going to be honest, I like the triple splashdown rework right now. We have to see when it actually comes out. But I do actually like what they're doing with the splashdown rework. And unlike the Slider rework, what I like with the splashdown one is they're sticking with what needed to be adjusted better. Splashdown 2, triple splashdown, was made with the acknowledgement of, okay, the splashdown user will die. So we're going to make it so that if they die, there's still going to be a splashdown going off, so a splashdown in the right spot will still be good. That's the core idea, and everything around how they've designed the special fits that. And because of that, we've taken away stupid attributes of it. Like now, if you die in splashdown, you still lose the full special. That's a great change. That was stupid. Making it so you could panic splashdown and come back with another one was dumb. It was okay because the special wasn't broken, but it was a dumb idea. And now we can take that away by making it so the splashdown actually hits the floor. Like, that's a good idea. We have taken away poorly designed attributes, including things that made it better, to make it more fun, feel more powerful, and have a design that works. I just want Slider to get the same treatment. And, like, the building blocks are there for Slider, but they're just not being used. We're reconstructing Splashdown more than we are building something different. But now we also added Splashdown, so it makes even less sense. Yeah, honestly, if they don't want to fix Slider, like if they legitimately don't want to fix the end lag, I think it would be better to replace every Slider weapon with either triple Splashdown, Ultra Stamp, or Kraken. Probably like 2 each. That would legitimately be what I do. If I had the choice. I think you can make Slider a distinct special, and that's another thing where, like, Slider now needs to be more distinct. It's not triple Splashdown that needs to be more distinct, by the way, because triple Splashdown is the concept that works. It's Slider that has to do the adjusting now. So not only does Slider need to be better balanced now, not only does it need to be better designed now, but it also needs to be more distinct, because we added triple Splashdown. So Slider is the special with the worst design in the game. It is in the worst spot balance-wise pretty much in the entire game, and we have a lot of work that needs to be done. And unfortunately, we're a year and 3 months into patches out of currently 2 years planned of content, and we've had one buff that actually has worked to fix the problem. In other words, I don't think they're gonna fix it. Compared to Splatoon 2 specials. If you put Reefslider in Splatoon 2, it would be the same thing. I don't want you to keep saying Reefslider is a Splashdown rework. The beta version of Reefslider was literally a horizontal splashdown. We have the icon for it. So, yeah, it's not speculation. It literally was confirmed to be a splashdown rework, like we've seen the beta version of the game. It merged other attributes of it for sure, but, like, they're both splashdown reworks. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think it shows it, actually. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, I forget it's on Inkpedia. There you go. That is the original icon for Reefslider. It is literally the same splashdown person doing one horizontally. So yeah. There you go. For those of you who haven't seen it, there you are. Pretty cool, huh? And again, that's like the unfortunate part to me. Horizontal splashdown was a good idea. Like, it actually is a good idea on paper. I think triple splashdown's idea is better, mostly because it just, I don't know, splashdown always has this factor of just looking fucking cool. Like, that's what splashdown is. And the new one looks even more sick, like summoning two fists in the air. Like, that's awesome. You know, it always has that factor that Slider doesn't. How do you make it unique, though? Emphasize the traveling part of it. Like, you make Slider an entry tool. That makes it distinct. Kraken, Ultra Stamp, and Splashdown cannot be made an entry tool. But you can make Slider an entry tool. And a unique one because, like, most entry tools don't put you in, like Crab or Jetpack. Whereas this thing, like, puts you into the front line. So it's like you could make it a way to where you get your front line all the way in, and that could have it work better for weapons than any of the other entries would. Because it's really good to be able to get in there. Like, that's why it works well with Tetra. Is like, the whole point is Tetra has a way to get all the way into the enemy team. Which is exactly what they want to do. You could make it steerable, but they want to keep it simple. That's also the problem with, like, drop rolling off it. But, like, screw it, man. Get rid of the simpleness if we have to. Like, I think it's cool that there's enough simple specials that are easy to use. Though we did just add Splashdown, which is also that anyway. So, like, fuck it. If you have to make it so you have to, like, drop roller off the shark in order to make the special function, then do it. It's better than what it is now. Yeah, I mean, Tetra's work with Slider because Slider does exactly what Tetras want to do. It has good synergy with, like, the role you have. That's why custom kits wouldn't be just, this is the best special, put it on every weapon, because, like, the synergy with the weapon matters. That's why this weapon on Tetra doesn't feel anywhere near as shit as it should, because it and Tetra want to do the same thing, so it's very easy to use. What about Dapple? Dapple's kind of different, but that's a topic for another time. Regardless, point being, if you're happy for the buff, I get it, trust me, I've been playing vanilla S Blast. At the same time, I'm telling you this buff will not make the special good, it will only make it annoying, and we actually need to fix this special eventually, or there's no point in having it in the game, and if they never fix it, then I hope it never returns in Splatoon 4 or 5 or whatever future game we do. Sorry, Reefslider fans, but your special is just not being treated very well. GG.